I'm at this point that I just love God so much, bro. Like, there's a reason why I had a kidney transplant. I have another kidney. There's a reason why, like, I'm not in depression. There's a reason why I don't drink anymore. There's a reason, like, I make those decisions because I want to not only better myself, but I want to better this body that God blessed me with, you know? Welcome back to Late Thoughts Podcast, everybody. This is season 2, episode 13. Yeah, episode 13. I had to think about that. And my friend Ray is here. But before we start the conversation, this guy has influenced me a lot, but more so has been like a big brother to me, not gonna lie. And the family, y'all know, is a hard thing for me. And even though he's Filipino, I'm Chinese, if you think about it, it's like Manny Pacquiao and Jeremy Lin being friends, you know, because they, like, there are some things I just don't think before I say it. I feel I should do that starting from now. But before that, Ray is also a co-founder of the nonprofit called Yikes. We might touch upon that, but before that, I just want to thank you, Ray, for hopping on and giving us your sexy time to show your beautiful face, man. So welcome to Late Thoughts Podcast, bro.
Thanks for having me,
dude. Before we jump in, I just want to ask, dude, like, genuinely, is like, how are you, bro? Like, how's your heart? It's been it's been a year, like a few years.
I saw you last probably since
that
camp
gala.
Out?
Yeah. No, that gala we went to.
In November, last November. Yeah. I've been in a big season of change, probably the last year, maybe over a year, but it started last year. And then when I saw you last November, so Jen and I, my wife, we moved. I was teaching at a school, and I was like education for 10 years, and then I left the school. We moved to New Mexico for like 7 months, and it was just, I actually was just in a space where I think doing a lot of community stuff, like myself has always been, I've always seen myself through the lens of community and like what I can do for who I'm with, or like how do I give of myself, how do I serve. And I think it's a beautiful thing to want to strive for, except I think for me in that point, I just kind of started evaluating myself through that lens of like, and that's how I gave myself value, and that's how I thought I was worthy by how much service I was giving, or how much I was kind of running myself ragged in certain things. And I think just the reality of it was I was just tired. I was just tired.
Like, tired mentally, or just in general?
Yeah, I think I just needed a shift. Like, I need, for me, I'm somebody who, I think I've learned that I'm a seeker. I'm also like an observer. I observe a lot, and I like to learn and experience things. And so sometimes, you know, over the years, if you've friends and everything, I've always been almost like intoxicated by experiences. I want to feel this. I want to know what this is like, so I can confirm or have an understanding that this is what this is, you know. And I think in that same regard, I've always had this like sense of wanting to belong and be part of community. And then that's kind of what happened with Yikes. You know, I had a real big sense of community, belonging. We're doing something positive, helping folks. And then in education, it's the same thing. And then I think just together with it, Yikes also came to a place where, you know, as someone who's been involved with it, like there's also times to, you know, there's importance, like, we started it, or like we founded it, right? But also the idea of like when something becomes something on its own, then you just care for what it is, right? Like sometimes you start something and it's like a baby, and you're like,
I feel that
this is my baby, versus, and then at some point, even parents, right, when your child starts to have their own thoughts or their own things, and people have their own relationships with it, you know, it's time to allow it to shift and to be something. And I think for myself, it was in that space plus my own growth. And then in the school situation, it's just a tough school situation. Like, yeah, it just wasn't like the healthiest situation. And so we moved. Yeah. Like, yeah. So I left school. I took a break from EIX, and then we moved to New Mexico to just kind of, to be honest, just like disconnect from everything. Yeah. I've been so connected and so wired to almost like I feel like I was dependent on other people's perspectives of me. Like, that's what my process was like.
Yeah.
What is people's process of me? I think I've always been attached to a larger purpose and a larger thing. You know, obviously something that's larger than me in life.
Yeah.
But in my like earthly space,
yeah,
you know, I started like fixating on like, well, what do they think? What do they think? And I didn't know what I thought of myself and my own journey, you know? And so, yeah, we went to New Mexico, and it was honestly like 6 months of just like, it's so quiet there. And it's like, there's like a deep spirit in the ground and in the soil with, you know, with like the indigenous and the natives there. And it's just like, it's calming. There's space. People interact. I think I was living in the heart of LA for 6 straight years, and then it was just like, yeah, there was not a lot of space, and my times were always, my calendar was always busy. I was always doing something, or people always wanted to do something or needed something, or we had to do this, and I wasn't a lot more of like, we have to, we need to, we got to do this, versus this is the space that, you know, I feel like I want to serve from, that comes from a place that's full of me. And so, coming off that, and then we moved back a few months ago, and while I was in New Mexico, I had a lot of like, I just want to not talk to anybody. So I think you asked me about the podcast when I was there, and I was just, honestly, I was in a space where I was like, I don't know right now. I don't know, and I just want to be like, away from everything and everybody, so that I can have some solitude to kind of like ground down, connect, and figure out. And so, yeah, it's powerful because Jen and I got married last year, and so we got to build our partnership for like 6 months and live together, be together. And she was working in the film industry, and she's been on strike, and so we just lived together for 6 months in our place there, and it was beautiful to just like slow down, to like not have all the stimulus of it. I'm very thankful of, you know, what LA has as opportunity and all the people I met, but it's also like like the stimulus of LA.
It could be damaging to the soul.
Yeah.
You know? And
it's very powerful, the stimulus.
You know, when you were sharing that, I just want to extend a appreciation, because like when I first met you, I was like 18 or 19, and now I was like, oh, I'm gonna do photos and whatnot, and then you were like, oh, come through, and then next thing you know, it like, it didn't feel like an interview, it felt like you just want to get to know me, bro, not gonna lie. And then I was like, oh, I can take with this. Okay. You know, I was like, let's do it, you know. And I don't know, something about you, bro, like even with you today, I felt like I could just be real with you, and you're cool with that. I don't have to do a certain thing or act a certain way, speak a certain way. And I think that's your gift from God, bro. And I think that like, you know, you even ask questions about my family, and then like what I like to do, what's my hobbies, what's my career I want to head into. I don't know, like you're really great at just asking questions, not in a way of like for your benefit, but you generally just want to get to know people. And I think there's a certain like understanding that, oh, like Ray is just down to get to know you. And I think not many people can get that out of friendship, you know, because for me, there are times I have to watch like my back. It's like, oh, does this person wants to get to know me, or do they just want to be on this podcast for the platform, sir? You know what I mean? Yeah. And I just genuinely want to let you know that you're just one of the most, you're one of those people I genuinely like feel like this guy is out here to serve. And you have that heart of a servant, you know? So I guess like one of the like thinking or thoughts I have is that like, where does that come from? Just to like, you just want to be in community and help people or just get to know people, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of it is there's a few things, but I would one probably being Filipino. It's like
hey, Filipino food is bomb.
It's very communal, right? I grew up in a very.
He tried some Filipino food and he cried a little bit.
Yeah, I grew up in a very communal family, like a big family, and it's built around community and food, and you feed people and you give hospitality, and I think I watched my dad when I was young. Like, I think I had we had a big family, so I had uncles who were always like welcoming people. So I had a lot of examples of how to welcome people, how to make people feel comfortable. And I always, when I was young, would always look at the people that were coming into the space. And then I always appreciated, even at a young age, how whether it was my dad or an uncle, like, or an aunt, my family, how they would welcome people into the space. And then I think that, and then my parents always had this idea of service is like very powerful. They're very faithful folks, and then I think inherently is also put in me to because I think it's very I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm a little bit too simple for the world. Like, it's not that hard, it's just get along with folks and be with folks, and isn't the whole point to get to know folks and have deep relationships with folks? And we have a limited amount of time on earth in this life, you know, so you know, all these things that get in the way of relationships that begin to I don't want to say distract, but they make things complicated, right? And there's different things that we have to consider other than living in relationship with each other. And ultimately it might be idealistic, but I believe people have core needs and core feelings and core things that are beautifully changed through your life experience, through your culture, through regionally where you grew up. But fundamentally, we're human beings. We're you know, or we're spiritual beings and having a human experience, you know. And then, but there's a science to it, right? How we develop our brains, and I think that's universal, right? And there's beauty in that, in the cultures, and in like just stripping away all the shit that's like people are afraid of or have walls and things like that, you know. But also in the same time, like, I say that, but I'm also in a space where I'm trying to understand. I'm 41 now, and I'm trying to relearn myself.
Like 25, 26, right?
Yeah.
You're 25, 26?
25, 26.
That's
but I'm trying to like learn myself now, you know, like I'm trying to have that relationship with myself at this age, you know, and at a time where people are like careers, families, like legacy. I'm actually just trying to reconnect to myself, because I spent a lot of that with other folks, so that I can connect with me, so that I can re-tap into like a evolved purpose, you know, an evolved sense of like how I want to serve. But that also requires like looking at myself very honestly, you know, of like, what's
that hard to look within yourself?
I've never thought of it that way.
When you're so focused on serving people.
I've never thought. That's a good question. I've never thought of it that way.
You said that's a good question. Oh my gosh, 3 in a row, bro.
That's a good question.
It's because the past 2 episodes, the 2 past guests keep saying that's a good question. I was like, let's go. I feel really happy when I ask a good question.
We just edit it out. Be like,
oh gosh, dang it.
That's an average question, Jonathan.
Okay. I'm gonna just cry later on.
That is a good question. Yeah, but the idea, I think, in the idea that like a lot of artists are able to reflect their life experience into their medium, or they're able to like. They're able to reflect something into their work. I per se have never like thought of myself as like an artist, but I could see that as an art. I think for me, it's I reflect, and I try to use it in my life and in my relationships. But I could see that,
What was like, you know, when you said that you went to New Mexico with Jen, and you just decided to disconnect from everything, right? What were some of the questions you were asking that time when you moved, or make that decision? Like, let's go to New Mexico, disconnect from everything. Because if I was in your shoes, I'm like, disconnect from everything, like work, friends, and I don't know. That could be very scary for me. So I'm just wondering, like, what made you to even think about that?
I don't. When I say disconnect, like, I obviously say that with the understanding that I have such a real community that will hold me down irregardless. That I could come back. I could come back like Tom Hanks in Castaway, like years later, you know, and they'll be like, "It's all good." Like, we're, you know, I say it with that type of confidence, and that's the blessing that I have, is that I have relationships that are like, it's not transactional. It's not. That's there for me. So when I say disconnect, it's really from a space of have solitude, you know, and have space to just look inward, and like to not have to do and have to be busy, and to have a partner who is like, do that work, do that for yourself, and allow me to explore New Mexico, explore myself, explore my relationship with my wife, my relationship with God, my faith, my understanding of things, my purpose. And so I started trying new things too out there, and and I think just allowing yourself to step into something undefined or into a new space, I think that was a big piece of going to New Mexico.
I think that, like, when you move or you go to a different place that you're not familiar with, there's definitely things you're going to learn more about yourself or relearn, right? Do you think going back to New Mexico helped you gain a better understanding where your relationship lies with Jen?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. 100%. It's we went from, you know, she was working on set during the day. I was at school. My commute from work was like 2.5 hours a day, so we would see each other sometimes like 4 or 5 hours a day. Maybe we'd eat dinner and then go to sleep, and then restart that, right? That cycle, you know, is very, I'm not even aware, but now I'm like, that's crazy. I never want to like be with Jen and only see her 4 or 5 hours a day. Like, that's my life partner. Like, I want to spend as much time as I can with her, and we could build stuff. Granted, we had there's a learning curve when you just all of a sudden start spending all that time with someone, but we learned, like, I don't want to say it fast-tracked so much of it, but the depth of which we got to just get to shit and just get to working on stuff, because it's like, now you're together 24 hours a day, 20 hours, you know, like 20 hours a day. And then we had a couple places that we were working on out there. So then we're working on that, and we're doing projects together now. And she's a set decorator, so she's very logistical. She's get things done, to-do lists, and I'm in the sauce, you know. I'm in the sauce. I'm philosophical. I'm thinking about how things are connected, how they work, pondering, and a lot more about the culture of things and how we're building relationships. And so it's really interesting to be able to just spend time to work in that, and that's so valuable, to be able to just have that and know like there's nothing that's pulling us away from each other, so we're there, you know. And so then you start to adopt these new things that you're practicing together. You know, it's like we get frustrated, have an argument, but you know what, we don't have any friends. We have some friends out there, but like, it's just us here. So then that instinct to like come back to each other and to say sorry or apologize or work it out or like talk about the issue, you start to develop that, and that's quicker, and then the trust develops, and then the understanding, and then you just get to a lot of these things as people to find your flow together. You get to it much more quickly and much more intimately. And so
you know, it's like I want to jump on the hospitality part right now, like besides being Filipino. But like, I think when someone's very hospitable, that says a lot about their character. how they were raised, or whom they surround themselves with, that adds on to the morals of being a hospitable person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, it's like, I think one thing one thing I'm thinking about, right, in the Bible is like there's like sisters called Martha and Mary, right? And I might butcher this, so don't hurt me if I get this wrong, but I think Mary is the one who's like very like showing the hospital thing, right? But thing is that like in the Bible, she was like very obsessed with being hospitable, right? Mm-hmm. So it wasn't genuine. It was more like she's stressing herself out, like, mm-hmm. I gotta do this, I gotta do that, so people could feel like inviting, like. Mm-hmm. But for you, I feel like whenever I come to your house, whether it's like through boxing or like, I don't know, like you were very hospitable in a way that like you didn't have to feel stressed, like, oh, he's coming, we gotta do this. So like, how come? And I don't know, this is me being honest, like, how do you not be stressed when you have a hospitable character? Does that make sense, bro?
Sure.
Okay,
sure.
cool.
I mean, I have a mom who's like that.
Okay.
People are coming, everything needs to be clean, nothing's in place the way it should be. Yeah. It has to be perfect in the way that it is, but I think if someone's coming over and they want to see you, that's a pretty big act to come into your space or to come into your inhabitants. And so, yeah, for me, that's already a big piece of trust. That's a big piece of someone saying, that's a big offering, right? Mm-hmm. I want to come to your place. I want to, where you live, like, I'm going to spend time there. I'm going to come to you. And so for me, that means a lot. And so to be able to make that visit, as comfortable for someone as possible. Definitely there's like the voice of my mom in the back of my head. It's like, hey, do this, if you do this. Yeah, make sure you offer this, do this. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, I think it also comes to my idea of like, we don't really own any of this stuff. Like my house, my space, like.
That's interesting.
This concept of like ownership, like I'm also, as I'm getting older and like, I'm like thinking a lot about the limited amount of time that we have here, right? And that everything is in flux. Everything is always changing, right? We may be in seasons and, there's things that are kind of timeless, but our time here is finite. These things that we own are finite. Mm-hmm. New models of microphones will come out, right? Like new models of everything. And so not becoming so attached to those things and becoming, interlocked with the things that are timeless, or the things that are, relationships, that is care, that's these things that are not so visible and tangible, but are very tangible internally. So I think I focus on that. But also it depends, right? Like I'm super comfortable with you if they were like a camera crew's coming to like check out your house, like I'm probably gonna, that's a whole different set of like, what's gonna happen. I'm unfamiliar versus with you. I know you're not gonna come judge me, and you're not gonna. Yeah.
It's interesting we're on this conversation because I was driving with Nathan on here, and I was just sharing like the past few weeks has been just hard, bro. Not gonna lie. Yeah. And like and I was telling him there was this kid I worked with as a one-on-one, and he has like some sort of like levels of ADHD. I could tell just from what I observed. I didn't get like lots of information regarding to the company where I worked at, so I was just like looking. I was like, okay, I see that. I see this type of behavior. And then this kid, he's a troublemaker, but like that's he a lot of coworkers, even people I worked at, they know him as troublemaker, right? But I feel like for me, with my relationship with God and just like understanding where he is, and I think like as educators, the idea of hospitality when you're in education is very warmth. Like, you try your best to create that environment, just let them like, oh, come as who you are, and then I'll do my best to be there, right? Yeah. That's what we try to do our best as educators. And I think that like I was telling Nathan that like he recently like got out of the program because he was saying some outlandish stuff, started cursing and making insensitive jokes to other people and banging on chairs, throwing chairs and whatnot, right? Yeah. That's normal for me. Yeah. Because I'm like, oh, I know his behavior. I know what's that like. Yeah. For other people, they're like, oh my gosh, that's like a war. Yeah. But then like sadly he was like out the program because like for like safety purposes among like other students. Yeah. And if I'm being honest, like when I found that out, I was mixed. I had a lot of mixed emotions about it, if I'm being honest, bro. Like I was like, oh, thank you, because I had another student taking care of it. It was like a two and one, so I was like taking care of this and taking care of that, and then some part of me was like very, like I felt like I failed with God, if I'm being honest, bro, because I was like, I know what that student feels like, I know what he is experiencing, right? To parents, or if you're working with kids, is that like people who, or students who may, or kids who may feel, who act like outlandish or just like rude on the outsides, because I truly think they're just hurting here, you know? And instead of like just like, you know, judging and beating them, is that you just gotta pour hope into their hearts. And when that student, when I found out he's not coming, I just like, man, I failed God, bro. Because, but I will say my last words to him, not trying to feel like, oh, it's like a death wish or one now or last words, but like I honestly just said like, hey, I'm not giving up on you. And he was walking away very angry. He didn't know how to feel his emotions because he got in trouble, but then he was like running away, walking away, like you know what I mean? Yeah. And then just from hearing your side of being like hospitable, and in my experience is like, you can try your best to be hospitable to anyone, but then I realized that like when I found out when he was not coming tomorrow, I was just like, man, like I could try my best being hospitable, whether in classroom, whether in his house, you know. I can't be perfect. Well, no one's perfect. I know that. Yeah. Right? It's just that like the reason why I say this and tell you this, not only because like I trust you with this and I care about what I say, and but I truly just want to share this with you because like you can relate to me because we're both educators, right? But a second point is that like you decide to go out of education. Beside, I don't want to just ask you like what made you do to leave education, but I think like the question that's coming right now, honestly, bro, is just that like, what have you learned about hospitality through education? Sure. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question first.
Yeah, go for it.
Is that choice for that kid to no longer be in the program, that wasn't your choice, right?
That wasn't my choice.
Yeah. So why do you feel like you are a failure if that was not your choice to remove him from the program?
I think it was just that like I felt like I had no power to change that, you know, because like I don't know about you, but like I can only do so much, I feel like, or maybe I'm just limiting myself, I don't know. But it's just that like I try my best, like every day I'm like, hey, we're gonna have a good day, are we? And then he's like, yeah. 2 minutes later got in trouble. They're like, Mr. Arnold, we need you. I was like, okay. So it's just that like some part of me, like if I'm being honest, like I've been very physically tired, bro, like physically like tired. But like for some reason my emotion, my mental, I'm good. Like waking up, I'm good, but my physical is like you know, I'm just like so tired. But answering that question, I think it's just that like I if I'm being honest, I think I started self-blaming myself a lot. That's like, did I not do enough? Like, did I do something wrong? You know what I mean?
Does it feel like you have the capacity to, like, if that kid didn't get taken out of the program, you have the capacity to eventually work with that kid enough to a point in which where the kid would be able to stay in the program if that kid was given much more of a chance?
Yeah, I think just like I don't know. I even share some deep things with that boy. Like I'm like, hey, bro, like growing up, I didn't have a dad. Yeah. And then I could tell, you can tell when a kid wants to say something. Yeah. But I could tell like that boy was like going through a lot here. Yeah. It just he just had a hard time expressing it. Yeah. Or just possibly weren't raised in a way like, oh, here's some other ways to express yourself. Like, here's some ways you can write, you can draw, you can even actually have a empathetic, honest conversation with your parents. Yeah. Because I didn't have that, so I was just trying to ingrain that seed onto him. Like, hey, like, you don't have to dress, or you don't have to like say a certain way just to talk to me. I just come as who you are. Yeah. You know, and then I'm saying this because I also learned that from you too as well. You know, like, I don't have to feel like I have to say certain ways, or like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to mask myself to come to you. Yeah. Yeah.
I asked you that because that's when you asked me about education, and it's probably why I left education. You know, these things are systems, right? Like, education is a system. From a private education has. You go to public school?
I work at a public school.
Yeah. So there's public school, and public school has the way that it's funded, the way that it works, the way that the system is. I left. I was in a public continuation school, and then I went to this. I went to a private school with a very affluent families and kids, and I was there, and then I got to see how that was, and that itself is a system, and the way that decisions are made, the way that it works is its own system. And for me, I think I felt a lot like you, where I believe that if you give me enough time, I could work with somebody, and I could get to the heart of what it is and work with them, and, you know, be of value to them, or help them help harness something within them for their journey. And I think for me, I didn't want to keep doing it through these, I think, the way that I want to. I think kind of going back to like art, reflecting. In my reflections, there's something calling for me to reevaluate the way that I want to serve young people, the next generation. And it doesn't just have to be in a school setting, in education. That education can be in different forms, right? And that's up to me to develop myself, and for me to step into new things, and to be uncomfortable, to examine myself, so that I can get to this next space and answer this calling that I'm feeling. So,
you know, like when you were saying about like the system, right? Yeah. I think that, like, if I'm being honest, I don't know that much about the system, bro. If I'm being honest, I'm just like, I'm here to do my job. Let's do it. I'm gonna do my best working with kids. That's literally how it is for me. Sure. Yeah. And then, like, do you think the system of education don't know what hospitality is then? I don't know. I don't know if that's a fair question. I'm dancing Trelly on that question.
Yeah, I think
you're like, I want to say a lot about this.
I say a lot, but obviously I'm just one person. My opinion could be worthless.
Go out loud, bro. This is your episode, bro.
Yeah, I think the intention of the people within a system is always right. They're trying their best to do something. But I think systems, when they get very big, tend to disregard individual human experiences. But that's just the nature of a system, right? Because you create systems to be efficient, right? So then you start to file things in certain places, right? But if we believe that every single person has like unique gifts and unique situations and unique experiences, then just by that nature alone, like when you're just filing people into systems, it's not going to be a one size fits all. It's not going to be congruent for every single kid, right? And so there's just the realities of a system, right? Like in the LA school system, right? There's a certain amount of funding, right? Or like kids need after school programs. If you can't fund after school programs, then you don't have mentorship for kids, right? But then how do you get kids into school if they have other things going on in their family life, and like, but you don't have people there that can reach out to these families and these kids, then the system's just still happening, but there's holes in it, right? Do all the educators and the people that are working at the school, are they trying their best? I'm pretty sure, people are trying their best, but when resources are limited, but that's like a whole another issue with like how systems distribute their resources, right? And how systems work and who benefits from the system, right? And that's a whole nother, I don't want to get like all in those conversations, but I think the people that are creating it have good intentions, right? But for me, I bless the people that want to figure out these like large scale problems. I think for me, that's why I focus on smaller groups, because I want to be able to like look at a classroom of like my 12 or 13 and be like, you do this, I know you do this, I know you do this, I know you love this, I know you don't like that, I know you love this. So then we're kind of creating this like we're like in a kitchen cooking with different ingredients of different people's skills, different what lights someone up, where someone might be able to be of use, where someone might be able to step up, right? I know they don't like that, so I don't want to use that. But you can't do that if you have a classroom in a public high school of 40 or 35, right? And then you have to teach a specific curriculum. You have to teach this, and your kids have to get a score of this on this. So where are you going to have the space to build relationships with individual kids when you have 40 kids and you have 45 minutes and you have to teach them this? Well, then they become this student that you have to get to pass this test versus
how do you recognize, how do you recognize those students who have like different skills or different unique sets of abilities? Because I think that takes a level of like observing, but also just having like, I see you, because like I'm the same thing. Like I'm like, I see you're great at this, but bro, like you need to work on this, bro. And then just also being at their level too. Like I know right away when a kid is a leader, bro. I can tell right away. I was like, you like telling people what to do, bro. But just like molding them, but also letting them have that space away from you, just letting them like having questions, you know what I mean? So like I think like how do you know, like how do you differentiate, like you're good at this, you're good at that, like how do you do that?
I think there's
for teachers who are, or maybe new teachers who might not know how to do that.
I think it's just creating the space to do that. I think there's a lot of theory, but I think it's just at the end of the day, are you making space to get to know your other aspects of your students, what they like, what are you asking them, are you giving them the floor? But I don't think it's also with teaching is like listening. Are you listening to your students? Are you allowing them this? Like, I think one thing that I've always appreciated about my students is that I've had in the past is they'll tell me I never felt like you were in a position of authority over me.
Ooh.
I definitely was like, these are my boundaries, and this is like what's cool, and then there's certain things that we respect, that we agree upon, that we're coming up together, that we're agreeing upon within this space. That if I step out of it, I'm accountable to that. If you step out of it, you're accountable. And I think co-creating, collaborating, with young people is like super powerful.
Like then why did I'm assuming this because it's based upon my experiences too, like why do you think there are teachers who's not willing to collaborate with their students then?
I think that's like personal work.
It's
right?
like that's a you problem.
Yeah, right. I mean, there are, right? Like at the end of the day, there's people that maybe they didn't come into education to be to go see. I don't need to see whatever every student wants to be. I want to teach science. I love science.
I'm just here for science.
I love science. I love teaching it, and this is what I want you to know. And that's okay, right? I think at the end of the day, there's many different tools in a box that can be used, and I think ultimately that's up to the person who's coming into education, right? Obviously, I'd be like, I don't know why you'd come into a space where you're spending, 7-8 hours a day with young people who are like internally changing at a rapid pace and are trying to figure out who they are and what they are and all these social dynamics. Like, I think that's part of like, you got to understand that. And so it's because it's not easy, right? It's not it takes a lot of yourself to go into that. But I think, and some people don't do that work for themselves of self-reflection. Like it's hard to, some people are like, I earned this, right? I earned this position to be a teacher.
It's like a stature.
I have this stature as a teacher because I have this and I achieve this, so therefore you'll respect me.
Ooh, okay.
Right? I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not here to say that that's
yeah.
incorrect, but I think that that's part of the psychology of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then like, because like for me, when I'm in my classrooms or when I'm with students who's that one-on-one, right? Like, dude, I have this kid. He's so joyful. Like, literally every morning, he's like, California, Texas, bro.
Yeah,
California, Texas. I was like, right on, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I talking to my coworkers. I was like, I have no idea why he says that. I don't know why he says California, Texas. But I was like, I bet he likes California, Texas, you know? But then, like, I have this, like, other student who's very sensitive to noise. And then, like, to me at his level, I was like, hey, you don't have to talk. If you want to just write what you want to say, go for it, bro. And he just write what he says. And I was like, how are you feeling? And he's like, I'm good. I'm like, I'm okay. And then I'm like, okay, we start with small steps, right? And then like literally like on the last day on Friday, like, bro, the kid I've been watching over for like for the past few like months or years is that like I asked him like on the last day, and he has speech impediment, and then I'm like, how's your heart? Like, I pointed at his heart. I was like, how's your heart feeling? He's like, sad. I was like, oh, why you feel sad? And then he just paused. And then I can see waters in his eyes. It's like, it's okay. I feel sad too. You know, and just like letting him know, like, I'm willing to communicate the way you're willing to communicate, and me at their level. And I think that's when you have folks or just teachers or even parents who's down to do that, you can know from their heart they're willing to do it for the long run, not for like oh, for my sake, but I'm here because like I know what's it like to not have a person who's not willing to be there for us consistently, but I'm here on the long run, consistent work with you. Yeah. You know? Yeah. So like when I just want to talk about this is that like when you left education, was it, you said 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago, leaving education or something?
No, I left this last year.
Last year. Like,
last year.
How did you react to that? And what was the process like when you like, oh, I think it's time to, you know, like, or you're like, peace, bye.
I mean, I don't want to shame the school, but
hey, you're good, bro.
Yeah,
no
but
hate,
basically, bro. The school is a shit show, just like a complete shit show.
Yeah.
It's private school, so it's like, this blew my mind where it was like, it's politics, right? Because it's when you're in a private school, families pay tuition, and then in this tuition base, right, you're kind of paying for your kid to go to the school, but you're also paying the teachers. You're kind of keeping the school afloat because you're paying for it. Yeah. So then there's dynamics in the school where it's like parents might feel like they pay a lot for this school, so they want their kid to have a certain whatever favor, a grade, or like extra assignment, and like so then these ideas of like accountability and certain things start to get murky, right? Because you're like, well, can I talk to this person? Because this person is kind of telling me that they pay my salary. But then I'm like, for me, I've always just been like, no, educate. Like, I don't really give a shit if you're, if it wasn't you, I do my job well. Like somebody else will come in but I'm here to serve the kids. Like I'm not here to serve you. You know, I'm very appreciative, but let's keep it real. But then, but anyhow, this school went through multiple principals. Like very public kind of like scandal in the community, and I really wanted to leave before for about 2 years, and then we were switching principals, and I was wanting to leave, but I didn't leave because if I left, like a lot of the administration was already gone. There's a good likelihood that it just would have been a terrible experience for all those kids, and it was interesting because I had to make a conscious effort to be like, I'm gonna finish this out for these kids, and as much as I feel like it might be toxic or not healthy, I'm gonna choose to do that for myself, and when this time is done, I'm gonna take myself out. And so I let them know, and I think just communicating that, and I learned a lot because my role was as I was teaching there, but I'm essentially like a mediator, like a school mediator.
You're the peacekeeper.
Yeah.
You're like,
kind of like that. And between students and teachers, teachers and parents and administration. So over my years at that school, I basically just listened to everybody's issues and everybody's point of views, right?
Was that hard? Like,
yeah, incredibly.
Because
yeah.
I'm that same. I'm like, bro, why are you complaining? Like, can you just like get along?
Yeah, well, it's hard in the way that this is something I didn't realize would happen.
Right.
When I left, I find it very hard to form my own opinions now.
Oh, okay.
It's very hard for me to have, like, when someone's like, "What's your take on this? What's your opinion?" I usually start with, "Well,
so but
there's this side, and then there's this side."
Right.
But that was what my role was, to take people's different versions of their perspective of truth, and to try to bring it to the middle and help form a truth that would be like, you're heard, you're heard, you're heard, and this is what we're going to try to do.
And that's hard when, I think, like, that's hard to do, especially when in your own personal life, there could be stuff that you're going through, and you're like, man, I want to agree with this person, I want to agree with that person. Personally, for me, because it's like when you become that mediator, it's hard to not let your personal life get into it, I feel like. Because when you're being peacekeeper, you have to be, like, not biased. Yeah. You know, it's like, I see what you're going through, I see what you're talking to, but at the end of the day, you're both just hungry. You guys need a Snickers bar. You know? Yeah. But, like, when you become that mediator, like, do you think that it's harder to become a mediator because let's say, for example, both parties are very powerful in what their beliefs are, right? Like, you get where I'm coming?
Yeah,
you know?
I think I felt okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever was like, it's like, if I lose my job, I don't really, I'll find something else. But yeah, it can get hard because I think when people trust you and they share things with you, they expect you to, there's a certain level of expectation that you'll see it exactly the way that they see it because you listened to them intently and you understood where they were coming from. And I think there's a thing you have to build where you take what people say and you understand that, but you also have to build your own confidence to say, in listening to everybody, and because I hold this space of having listened to everybody, I think this is like a good way forward, you know? And then on top of that, people are like, no, I don't think you should do that. I want to, and then you have to, so if you say something, let's say you have 4 people, like a parent, a student, a teacher, and one of the administrators, and they don't agree with something that you said, then now you need to explain it to each of these 4 people in a way that,
you're like doing a graph. You're like, okay, I got you. Let's build a complete maze right here.
It can feel like you're going a little crazy sometimes because you're like, what about what I think? But you're not trying to. You're trying to, like, bring these truths together.
You're trying to mold it.
Yeah. With a mission of, like, let's move forward and resolve all this stuff within the school culture and what the school is.
You know what I like what you said is what I think is, like, you're very optimistic. You're very hopeful, I think, because, like, you wouldn't do that if it wasn't for, like, having the thoughts, like, oh, I see this, let's keep going forward, right? Yeah. Is it difficult to be optimistic through, like, being a mediator, or just, like,
I don't think about it as, like, being optimistic. I think about it as, like, every person's doing the best with what they have, right? Like, what you might have, your skills might be limited in a certain area, but you might be a parent and you might be a dick to me, right? Yeah. But I probably know you're trying your best because you're really busy with all your other things, and then now you have to deal with this with your child, and you don't want your child to get in possible trouble, but then you also have these other things that are going on. Like, I can recognize that, and I think it's about just seeing what it is versus, like, I'm so tired of this, I don't want to deal with this, where this is what it is, this is what we have to solve for, we're going to solve it or not, you know? Just get into the work. And I think it's less about, I think there's a belief in people, I guess, but optimism, I would say, yes, maybe inherently, like, people want to resolve things. People, I know that if I'm resolving something, it's getting to a point where a person feels heard, and they feel like they're not speaking to a wall, right? And so I believe that if I move in that intention, they're going to want to solve this because I do have their best interest. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm trying to incorporate what you think to like resolve. Yeah.
You know, like how I'm observing that is that you're just willing to go to, I don't want to say an extra mile, but that's the only thing that's coming to my head, bro. But I just like, because like when you're in education, I hope you're doing it more than for self-obligation. That's why I hope for like when you become in education or educator, right? And then like, was it difficult that you said your advice to your students that like, oh, I'm because like you did it for a long time, so it's hard to get out of that comfortableness of, you know, you know where you're going, you know where to park, you know who to say hi to, you know how to say what's up, and then next thing you know, you're dipping that transition of like, okay, from one school, okay, I'm going to New Mexico, like, you know what I mean, like, like, was it hard to say your goodbyes to your students? Was it like, follow these socials, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, the support really means a lot. Thank you so much. You know,
no I
like,
think because
I always want to say goodbye to you for a while, dog. All right, peace.
I did it for so long, and I realized that because I was living in Boyle Heights,
okay,
and then I was driving to West Hollywood, and so it's like 13 miles, but it would be like an hour in the morning, and then it would be like an hour 20, hour 30 on the way back at the end of the day, and then it's just like when things are when things in a community are not held down and people don't feel taken care of, it feels like chaos, right? Because people start to look out for themselves and they're not worried about holding things down. So for me, I felt like I wanted to leave before that, and I was almost sacrificing some of my own well-being to be there. So when it was time to go,
you were like, finally.
It wasn't hard at all. It was like, I feel proud of myself. Like, well, the way that it ended last year, I got to, Alex and I, who's here, we got to present some of the diplomas to the seniors and like write like little bits for them and present it at their graduation. So it felt like a good way. And then actually even this year, they brought Alex and I back to facilitate their senior camping trip. And we've helped. Awesome. So, and those were our kids who, it was in 6th grade, and then they were graduating as seniors. So we got to close, the school was 6th to 12th grade. And so that was our first set of kids that went from 6th grade to seniors, and we got to spend the last.
What were your thoughts going through when you see like, oh, I was with you through this, now you're like,
yeah, it's just beautiful, right? It's because you're also at a different point, right? Like when you see them at 6th grade, I have a whole different set of things on my mind. Like I'm going to all these music festivals, and I'm trying to like do all these things, and I'm versus like now I'm like, oh, I'm getting ready to start a family. I'm with my wife. Like there's a lot different of a mentality, and so you appreciate much more also how you've changed when they, and how they've changed, and it's like it's more of a collective bond because you've all shifted and grown in that time, right? Like they knew me when I was that version of myself, and now I know this version of them that's in this present, and we're reconvening in this way to acknowledge and appreciate that, and you know, spend some time in nature together to like honor that and sit with that and reflect on that and give our appreciations, give our gratitude. And that's like, yeah, that's some powerful, that's like the powerful shit to like have shared experience and acknowledge it together. And I might not see some of these kids for years, right? But I will have shared this experience with them regardless of where they go. And
why does my heart feel something when he said that? I don't know why. I relate.
No, I feel like you do that with your kids, right? You do that with anybody you shared experience, right? Usually like the craziest experiences you have in your life or the most difficult experiences in your life, whoever was with you in that moment, in those transitions, you have a bond, right? You have an acknowledgement of like, that was wild. We were there. You walked next to me within that. So therefore that's, you know, that's powerful.
You're doing this, bro. Every time I talk to you, you're doing something, bro. But like, what would you think like during when you said, was it camp you said?
Yeah, we went camping.
Yeah, like
when you
have that reflection of like being with those kids from 6th grade to 12th grade,
Yeah.
what do you think they have taught you most about being a human?
What have they taught me the most about being a human? Yeah, I think these kids, they're probably much more self-assured than I was in high school. And so a lot less like, a lot more free in the acceptance when I think about how I looked at maybe my teachers when I was younger, and the way that they treated us, and the way that they gave us like that pure kind of love, but then they acknowledge that they're stepping into this next phase of their life, and they had that appreciation. And I think it just taught, actually what they taught me as a human is like the value of investing in people. And I don't like the term delayed gratification, right? But investing people in the long term, because when you're able to see the beauty of how people grow and the different parts of them that sprout and certain things that leave, or like even the things where you're like, this kid's gonna be that, and then they don't become that, and they become something on their own that you don't know about. There's like, you also learn about the power of allowing people to be and supporting people, and to see what comes of that, whether that be your friends. You can be your friends, can be students, can be siblings, can be
So like, would you say that when at that camp, did you feel a sense of like confidence in yourself? You're like, okay, I'm happy with that. I did what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hadn't seen him in a year, right?
Yeah.
I left that school. I left the school, and then I was in New Mexico, and then they didn't see me until I came back, and so. But the power of like not feeling like I had been gone, and we did that. Yeah, it definitely felt like, okay, like my chapter of being in a school every day feels good. Like this is confirmed. You know, the decision to go and to like step into something new, confirmed.
You know, like I just want to move to this topic. I remember when most of the time when we talk about like our parents, right? Specifically our fathers a lot. And for some reason, like whenever I talk about my dad with you, I'm like, just to catch you up on like my relationship with my dad, is like, I don't hate him anymore. I'm at peace with it. Yeah. You know, like I feel like a lot of men don't consider about men's mental health. Yeah. Or consider about their relationship with their fathers, right? Yeah. Like, dude, I love this. You doing this makes me like I'm talking to like Dumbledore, dog. Can we put a photo right next to you, just like Dumbledore, and then next thing you know, it's just a video of Snape's like, oh, I don't know, just that you create such a like safe space to talk about like what it could be, like good things or trauma, whatever it may be, right? Like I never had like an older brother who's willing to just like, let's go deep, or like I will move at your pace, or like let's go in depth conversations, right? Like because like you're such a you know how to hold small conversations really well, but you're really well at holding like depth conversations really well. I hope you recognize that, bro. And then like it was really weird, not in a bad way, but it was more like I wasn't used to it. As out of high school, I was so used to like small conversation, and then when a person who was older than me, and then like I'm just driving to their place in LA, and I'm like, let me just get to know you. I was like, okay, this is weird. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going through? Like, this is so cold. Like, I'm gonna be real, bro. Like, bro, I'm gonna be real. I thought I was like, oh my gosh, like, am I? What's going on? Yeah. Because like I was just not used to it, you know. Yeah. And then like, I don't know. It's like, I don't know your story with your dad, but I just know this, that like, whenever you talk about your dad, there's a sense of like basically a journey you went with him. There's a sense of like tone. I hear that, and there's a sense of like relief, right? And I think like when you have a sense of relief, there's always like battles with your parents, arguments. That's it's always gonna be there, right?
Yeah.
What made you be so comfortable sharing about that part with me when we like?
Oh, about my dad?
Yeah.
How old are you now?
19.
Yeah.
I'm 24, bro.
Yeah. So my dad, I think I shared. Yeah, my dad.
24 looking 19. Right, Zeke? Right. Okay.
Yeah, my dad.
Oh, okay. I went to like go to the restroom and pee. Let her cry. So happy.
What I. Yeah, well, my dad. Did I share my kind of?
Not all of it, but I know bits and pieces.
Yeah. So basically, at your age, my dad had cancer the second time. It came back, and then I moved back home. I was living down here already, and then I moved back home to the Bay Area to spend. Well, I thought we were trying to get him better, but it ended up being like the last 5 months of his life. And so, yeah, for me, it was just a powerful thing to be able to. I'll back up a little bit, but he had cancer in first of the liver, and then they did a surgery where they cut out part of his liver, and they're like, he's good, he's good for right now. But in about 4 to 6 years, we didn't get it all, but cancer will probably come back. And so we were like, oh, he's got another lease on life. And like, I remember him going traveling. And then a year later, I was doing this like documentary series on this road trip on, anyhow. And I was in New Zealand. And then when I got back, the day I got back, this whole road trip was interviewing people of like how they got to where they're at in their life and like learning from people and different jobs and different things. And I was like, I figured out my life. This is what I'm going to do. And then the next day when I got home, my sister called me and she was like, Dad's cancer is back. We didn't want to tell you when you were on your trip. We don't want to ruin it for you. And you were like filming this thing, you know? So I was like, oh shit. Right. And they were like, it's back. And like, you got to move home. So then it was just a trip. Cause I was like, on this like big self-learning journey at 24, and then I was like, oh shit, I gotta go home. And then my dad had cancer, and at the time we were like doing treatments, like trying new treatments for him. Like we went to this place.
I don't know why I'm crying, bro. I'm sorry, bro.
That's all right.
I'm just getting emotional, bro.
Yeah, but basically I spent every day with my dad.
You
know, and I'd take him around, and then he just started. Now when I look back on it, he was like losing weight. He was starting to get skinny. But as a family, you're like, no, we're going to get you better. We're going to be good. We even went a couple times to Tijuana and this place called the Oasis of Hope. And it was like holistic treatments about the immune system and cancer and how you treat the immune system.
You went with your dad on that one, or?
Yeah, my mom and dad went, and then I remember like getting driven to the border, taking a taxi across in there and spending a couple days with them. And I remember doing like a smile workshop with him inside this place because it was about how smiling is good for the immune system, and your immune system is what fights off all diseases, especially cancer. And
no wonder I see you smiling.
Yeah.
I should do that.
I smile so I don't get cancer.
I just cry. I was like, oh, and then next thing you know, I look like the Joker or something after that. But yeah, continue, bro.
Yeah. And so he was going through these treatments, and we were just like, my dad was getting skinnier and like more frail, but he was also like becoming more accepting of what his faith got like huge. And then he was just like he was like a disciplinarian when he was healthy and just like very like but then he just became like whatever is gonna be is like for me, you know. And like so then he started becoming like this guide to a lot of people who would visit him, you know. And then so he made it all the way until my birthday is January 19th. So he passed away on January 18th, but he made it through. Like I have my brother, my sister, my mom. He made it through everything. Like my mom's birthday, their anniversary, my sister's birthday, his birthday, Christmas, New Year's, and then on the 17th, me and my brother were born on January 19 and 20. We had a party on the 17th. And then he made it to that party. And then on the 18th, we were supposed to go back to Mexico, but we were like, oh, no, he's not going to make it. And then, so he passed away on the 18th, the day before my birthday, my brother's birthday. But it's like this idea where, he like fought to make it to our like birthday party. And Yeah, and I think I was able to be next to him and watch him shift and accept, and then see this idea of like, oh yeah, life is very, very finite, and there's like grace. The grace that he showed going into it was super powerful.
Yeah.
And then there's not questions, things that happened that, like the day he passed, all of our family came over and they were all praying. There was probably like 30 folks. And then at one point, like my dad just like stood up, and everybody's like, no, don't stand up. And he just stood up in front of everybody, and he was so weak. And I think he's like saying he couldn't see anymore, just because I think his sugar was so low. But he just like took this big breath. And then he exhaled, and then he sat back down. And then we called the ambulance, and then they took him to the hospital. And everybody was relieved because they were like, yeah, they're taking him to the hospital. And then they were like, do you want to go and follow him to the hospital? And so I was like, yeah, I'll go. And then, so I was the one who followed my dad to the hospital that night. And then this was the 18th. And then that night, as soon as I got inside, my dad, I went into the room, and I just looked at my dad. I remember just looking at him. I was like, oh, that's not him. That's like, that's not him anymore. And then I was there when he like essentially flatlined and kind of passed. And I always think about that because I'm like, there's a reason that not my mom, not my sister, not my brother were there, but
there's a reason you were there.
Yeah, and I think part of that is experiencing all that with him, you know. And then there's almost like a poetry to it, right? And then the next day is my birthday, right? Like he passes, and the next day is my birthday, and then yeah, I think there's something to all of that, right? But I also say, like, a lot of people don't get these perspectives to have, right?
Yeah.
Like, you might lose someone quick. You might lose someone in another way. So I'm very thankful. I look at that as a blessing that I was given this kind of like 5 months to say goodbye, to be there for my dad, to be able to, you know, hold it down in a way. And I think for me, I felt a lot of acceptance. I felt a lot of peace with my dad passing. Obviously, grief and all those things, but what stands out to me is there was like an exceptional level of like acceptance and peace to it. So, you know.
I don't know what I'm crying about. Man, God's with you, bro. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't felt like I gotta say that. It's that
yeah, I feel that.
Was it like what was grief feeling like during that time? Like, was it?
Yeah, what did grief feel like?
Because you had 5 months to just spend time, right? Like,
yeah, I think I didn't think about it in the way that when you're a family and you're supporting a sick member, right? Like, I look at photos of my dad now, like the week before he passed. He was probably like 170 pounds when he was normal, and then at the time he passed, he was like a little bit under 120. So he lost like. But then when I think about it in the moments, we were like, no, he's gonna get better. He's gonna he's gonna pull through. But all of our family members after were like, no, we knew we were saying goodbye to him already. Like, he was just pushing on for you guys, you know. And so, I think the grief was more for like my mom, that process, and like thinking about just moving through, getting over like the loneliness of myself and feeling that. And like, I think I was buoyed a lot by like my dad's acceptance of it and him telling us like, don't worry about me, you know, like this is what's for me. And to also see my dad be maybe the most evolved version of himself that I got to see, even though he was sick. So I think it all kind of happened at once, and then it kind of, the way that I look at it, for me at least, it kind of catapulted me. Where like after he passed, I was like, we had a conversation day of our birthday, and he was always like, I always knew that you wanted to like help folks and like be of service, you know.
He said that he
and he was like, I've come to realize in like my path with all this stuff and all the people that I'm talking to that like, that's what I want too, you know. So he was like, I want you to go. If I can't do this, you know, in my life, or it ends for me, I want you to keep going and do that. And so, Yeah, when you hear that, you're like, oh, okay. There's not really anything. So then once he passed, I was like, what moves me is a lot different then, right? Because I have this experience. So unless you're bringing me some truth or some experience that's going to move me the way that this shaped me and all the things that I felt and what I worked through myself, like, this is going to be pretty rock solid moving forward. And so, yeah, I think that really grounded me in, like, the direction I wanted to, like, spend my life in. Yeah.
What does when you look at, like, memories and pictures of your dad, right? Like, I don't know, my voice just went so deep. Oh my gosh. But what does being a son mean to you, bro?
What does being a son mean to you? That's a good question. You know, to be honest, I think about it in regards to my mom. Even in regards to my dad, I think he's been gone for he passed, like, 15 years now. Yeah. Like, just to be honest, right? It's like I have super solid memories, but even now there's this concept of, like, our relationship begins to be like the actual, like, nuts and bolts of what it felt like is it almost gets removed just naturally over time for me. I know some people are like, I never forget, but for me, what it means to be a son when I look at him is to continue on, right? To continue on and to be a, I represent him in this version, right now. And so I those memories of, like, the living piece is different, but it's wild because, like, my dad is, like, completely present still with me. So it's almost like those are memories of what it is. But my relationship with my dad became even more active after he passed, where it's kind of like a little Jiminy Cricket that's always there. That's just kind of like, that's how I analyze a lot of my decisions. It's like, that's just part of it now,
Then, like, being, like, you said that, wait, how long you and Jen been married?
We got married we had 2 weddings. We did one in a church and then one, but in November of 2022.
November 22. So then and now, right? Like, what has your experience, or maybe your family or close friends, like, or even yourself, like, what have yourself learned most about being a husband then?
There's a lot, yeah.
You're like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K.
Yeah, I think in being someone who's very, like, community oriented or, like, service oriented, the focus is very outward, and it's like, how do I help? What do I need to do this? And Jen came into my life and, like, supported what I did, but I've had to learn how to shift it from here to, like, to her, and, like, how does that look as a partner to her. And yeah, I think I've learned the concept of, like, commitment and what it means to show up. And I think love is all, you hear so many different versions of what love is, and, like, what romance is, and what marriage is. And I think for us it's just about learning how to show up every single day and, like, choosing to be married to each other, especially because we spend so much time. It's not
especially
like,
24 hours.
Yeah, we're not like, honey, I'll see you later, I'm going to work. It's like, wake up, we're there. We eat breakfast, we eat lunch, we probably eat dinner together, we're walking the dog. So I said, like, it's very embedded. And I think,
was it hard to be present then, making that shift from, like, I see you later to, like, oh, I'm with you?
No, it got easier. I think for me, it actually, because I lived with friends and houses full of people,
right,
all the way until we lived together.
Was it easier for her to stay present then?
What do you mean, like, staying present? Like was
it a hard shift for her, like from I don't know, like instead of like see you later to like oh.
I think for her because she likes to be busy,
and
she's like she gets shit done.
Yeah.
She's like so when we went to Albuquerque, it was like, what are we? I need to do more things other than this, and then that's why we came back, right? Like for me, I was like, I'll stay in Albuquerque like another year, like a year and a half. But that's also part of the relationship, right? Is navigating the needs of like, well, I feel like I really need to stay here, and this is for me right now. But also seeing like, I want to see my partner feel like her wings are like completely out, you know? And so we made the move back, and and I think it's about the ebb and flow of, you have to be able to understand like, I may want something, but for my partner, is this more valuable for my partner to have this right now? Like my life partner to like have this moment, have this time. And also if we're going to start a family, she wants to be close to her family, which is here. So it's like, cool. I'll take the, I'm with you, and I'm just going to park my wants right now in the back seat for right now.
I know this is such a random question, bro, but like, how do you want to be appreciated, bro? Like, how do you want to be appreciated, whether like in your marriage or Jen?
Yeah, that's
like, it could be like, hey, I just want to stay present with you, or like, hey, what's going on? Like, I don't know. You get me, bro?
Yeah, I think it's I like words of acknowledgement.
Yo, same, bro.
Yeah.
Yo, yeah, I feel that, bro.
And then I like when she just plays with me. When if I'm just like, hey, babe, check this out, and I'm doing something, or I could be talking in a voice. I could be like, I got this bit. I want to do this. I want to do this dance. And when she just jumps in, it's the best feeling in the world, man. It's like, oh, we're playing, like we're in this relationship together, and then we have that, you know. So. Okay,
I'm gonna just every time I'll be like, hey, you did a good job. You could be like,
yeah.
I didn't even know what I did.
Yeah. For me, it's I'm big with words. Words are very powerful.
Is your parents big on words?
No, not at all. My dad was, but my mom is my mom is not at all. She's my mom is a survivor.
Survivor?
So I think, you know, words of encouragement and words of nurture. It's not the first instinct. I think in her grit of like her spirit and being a fighter and surviving, hers are more through acts of service, and like she shows you through the acts that she does more so than like, and that was like been our biggest thing through most of my life, where I just want you to tell me you're proud of me. Oof. Or like tell me all these other things, you know. And she literally just doesn't whether it's a comfort thing or doesn't know how to, or if it doesn't feel natural for her. It's always been a big thing until, you know, the past few years, where it's like I'm releasing that, you know. That's not for, you know, as much as I'd like it from her, that's not for
that's
my
not
mom.
her.
It's not for me to expect from her. It's more for me to learn about her and understand why that can't be right now, you know, why that can't be, and love her for that, and love that, and nurture that. And
then, like, if you don't mind me asking, like, how was she of your father's passing then?
I think my mom was very she was sad, but she also like kind of clicked into action, because I think when someone passes, at least in America, right, like right away is you got to do funeral plans, like people are coming over to pray, and there's a lot of like the ceremonial things that I'm sure in every culture, right, but in America specifically, there's like that. And then so I think she jumped into that, and then a few years later she was sad, but I didn't notice anything like super deep. But a couple of years later we talked, and my mom said, like, I asked her about how sad she was, like, weren't you so sad, like your husband passed? And the thing that she said that hit me was like, she's like, no, like I was so sad because my children lost their father. And that like kind of blew my mind. I was like, whoa, like I didn't even think about that,
you
right?
triggered something hard, bro. You triggered hard something about that.
Yeah, that's where I was like, oh, I might have been in a space where I'm like, tell me you love me, tell me you're my... And then she drops this thing where I'm like, whoa, like your perspective is so much bigger than mine. Yeah. Because your heart is so much for us, and that kind of, yeah, that was big. Because then it was like, my dad passed, but I think she was grieving for us, you know? So.
Do you think that, like, actually, let me ask you this, like, what do you think hospitality means to your mom then?
What does hospitality mean to my mom? A clean house. Super clean bathroom. Like, make the house look like a hotel. Lavender smell. I think she thinks hospitality is a representation of how much you care about somebody. And so she tries, when she won't always host a lot of things, she's very cognizant. Like, if I'm going to host, you realize how much work this is going to take. Yeah. So if I host, I want it to be, hospitality is, you know what? Actually, almost hospitality is actually kind of like a presentation to my mom. But
like a slideshow, like so basically, put
your
shoes here. Yeah. If you don't, you get the chancla.
Yeah. But hospitality to our kids, what it does is like feeding us, making sure we
cutting
have
the
things.
fruits and veggies.
Cutting the fruits and veggies. Yeah.
Then, like, when you look up at those moments, right? Like, and then reflecting when you were a kid, right? What did you think hospitality means to you when you were younger then? When you now recognize, like, oh, my mom does this. Oh, my dad is like a words of affirmation kind of dude. Yeah. Like, what did you think hospitality meant for you when you were a kid then?
Yeah, I remember having friends there. I would just try to feed my friends nonstop. But it was like, food is, it's interesting how much when you ask me, I talk about food as the emphasis, but I think there's a concept of like feeding someone, right? That food is one of those needs that people have, and like to fill someone's belly and to fill basic needs for someone is to make them feel comfortable, and then also to make them laugh, or to feel like they can laugh in your home, feel like they can make a joke in your home, and then because then when we weren't having family over or people over, right, there's like bed sheets on the couch, there's plastic covers on things. Dude, right? And you can't go in certain rooms. You're not, what are you doing in the living room? Get out of the living room.
Don't come here.
It's only for party time, but when it's time to host, everybody has access. That's our one time to go in the living room and like hang out and like do things. It was, when I think about it now in real time, it's like, oh, these spaces my parents would preserve for the company, and in a lot of ways they kept it in tip-top shape and untouched so that people could enjoy it when they came over, But I was young. I was like, why aren't you're wasting this space? Why aren't we using this space?
It's that one thing I do think a lot nowadays is that since I'm in education, right, like I have thoughts about serving, like how can I serve kids, right? Like how can I be there for kids? Because like, like my stories, like my mom wouldn't be home a lot, restaurant like co-owner, always be at work. My sister relation wasn't that great, so like for me, when my friends come over, like I relate to you about the food thing. Like I want to feed them, I want to make them feel like they're comfortable, because like there's this, like when Nathan comes over, I'm like, dude, you want leftover fried rice I made, bro? I'll package like a container, what I mean? I'm like Chinese version of what Lola is, you feel me, dog? And then like I don't know, it's just that like that like, hey, like I made extra food, I know you go to school, here you go, bro. Like and then like I remember this one specific memory, like in high school, I had a friend named like Yosuke, right? And he was like, bro, I'm hungry. I was like, come through. And I like warmed up pizza, bro. He ate it. He hugged me so much. I was like, dude, it's just a pizza, bro. But like, I don't know. It's like food, what you say is a necessity. But like when you allow someone coming to your space to just like come and sit for like what 10 minutes, 30 minutes, just like be who you are. And there's food on a plate, and I'm like, hey, just bring your dishes, I'll wash it, don't worry about it. I just care about you and me being present, right? Like that's what I try my best with my kids, you know, like whenever I'm talking or whenever we're just joking around or we're serious time, like, hey, I'm trying my best to be present. It'll be cool if you do the same thing with me. You know,
for sure.
So like, I don't know, just that like when I started working with kids, being hospital and just being there for kids was very difficult because I'm like, oh, I'm 22 or 23, 24 at that time. I was just like trying to be there for kids when I'm like, man, I don't even know, like, is this what I'm supposed to do? Like, I love working with kids, you know, I have serious conversations with them. And then like I even have time when I'm questioning, like asking God, like, is this what's meant for me? Like, like, is this what I'm meant to do, right? And I've realized, like, just like reading the Bible, like God would just use like the most broken people, you know. God would just use people who are like not the ordinary, right? And they would just like, hey, even though if you're like X, Y, and Z, I would still give you purpose. He doesn't look at your past. He doesn't look at who you were, but he looks at the potential in you. And then like that's what you do, you know. So I just want to give you flowers that like you see the potential when students don't even see potential in themselves.
Thanks, man.
And I just want you to know that because I think a lot of men don't know how to not only receive compliments, but also like not only like how to give compliments. So I just want to give you that, and I want you to receive that wholeheartedly. You know, like take it right now. If you don't, then I'll push it down the door, bro. But like it's just that like one thing like I want to jump into is that with your relationship with Jen, right? Your marriage. What do you think of marriage was, bro? Like, what did you think what marriage was?
What did I think marriage was before I got married?
Dude, I love this, bro.
I'm really thinking.
Yo, Jen, put a Dumbledore face right next to his right now.
I thought of. I didn't overthink it. I thought it was a life commitment to someone and to kind of merging your lives to become a team. Pretty much what I thought. But I mean, that's and so but I didn't take it lightly. And I think what I thought.
What do you mean you didn't take it lightly though? Like
the commitment to be married.
Right. Oh, that's going back to what you said about like learning about the commitment thing.
I also told you like I'm somebody who likes to experience a lot of things. Then I also thought marriage would come at the expense of experiencing things, right? Because told you I just live with a bunch of people and I just like very independent, so I'm just doing all these things and trying all these things and experiencing and so then when Jen and I first moved in, it just like was like it was like, oh, that's it was like seamless. It was like got better. I was like, this is better than like living in a house with a bunch of dudes. Like, this is like great. Like we have a flow in the things that we like to do, and it was great. So for me, that commitment in living with Jen and like spending more time with her felt more seamless to make that commitment with her.
Would you, if you would like to share like when you moved to New Mexico, right? What was the hardest lesson you learned so far
about marriage?
Yeah, about marriage with Jen, or just marriage in general. Or like what's
my friend? I'll tell you this lesson that I learned, but it's through my friend and his daughter. Where like we visited him and his daughter, my buddy Omar, and his daughter was maybe 2 at the time. And he loves her. It's like she's the world, right? And she just was not feeling him that day. And she was just like, Daddy, get off of me. Like, get away from me. Just like, germs. She was just like giving him the cold shoulder. And I was like, ooh, that's gotta hurt as a dad, you know? I was like, she wanted mom and just like in front of everybody, you know? And then I was like, oh man, she's like really giving it to you today. He's like, well, I guess we'll go to sleep and we'll do this all over tomorrow. And it was just this idea, like he didn't take it personally, and it was just like, you're my kid, like this is for life, like I love you irregardless of this, and I'm committing to this, and we're gonna just wake up tomorrow and try it again. And so for Jen and I is talk it, like get clear on what it is. If we get upset, we have miscommunication. If what is it, identify it. If there's a reaction or if there's something, what is it, what happened, and let it go before you sleep. Like address it before you sleep. Or even if it's like carrying over, like understanding that I love you before I sleep. And I think that idea of it's finite, like even this concept like, oh, commitment for life, but you know what, your life, when you experience losing people or in your life, or you experience the finiteness of life, like you could go angry tomorrow, right? But Jen and I talk about more like the idea of death or leaving and passing on, like very openly, because it's like I might not we might not wake up tomorrow, like I might not, like, and that nothing is given, nothing is guaranteed to us. And so it has to be gratitude. We got to come back to gratitude over the anger, over the pain. We got to get back to communicating and be thankful that we have the opportunity to do this in space, in time, at this moment where your body's functioning, my body's functioning. Like we had a meal to eat, we had Wi-Fi, we had, we have shelter. Like these are blessings. So like we're like blocking our, we're getting away from our blessings by focusing on an issue that we can just talk about and communicate and identify and work to move through together. By being thankful. Because I don't know, right? Like it could be a pipe dream for me to say, like, when Jen and I look back in 20 years when we have a kid, is that guaranteed? I don't know that in 3 weeks is, or in 4 weeks is. And I want to live my life honoring that, so that I'm present with her each of these days. And like,
like, if I'm being honest, bro, like, for the past few months, I would say, or just years, is that, like, I'm like, man, I want a godly relationship. I want a relationship, right? And I'm at this point that, like, if I'm being honest, there's some hard truth I had to face, because some part of me is kind of, like, scared to be in a relationship.
What hard truths?
Like, because growing up, I didn't have, like, a lot of, like, healthy, like role model who are, like, men. Like, that's why, I appreciate, like, my teachers and counselors, because I truly believe, like, God sent me those. Is like, oh, thank you, God, for, like, having, like, those experiences, right? Those people that, like, really shaped my view of, like what a healthy person, what a healthy man looks like. It's just that, like, some part of me, I felt like, I don't know, maybe it's just, like, my parents' divorce. Like, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm not, like, I won't be, like, a good dad, or, like, there's, like, some fear of me is, like, oh, like, will I be even a good boyfriend, right? And I'm like, it's not about being a good boyfriend or be a good husband. I realize it's just that, like, as long I'm with you and willing to walk this walk and learn about you and who you are, like, I'm down, right? But then before that, it's just like, I'm at this space that I'm like, I need to do that with God first, because He creates everything. And then, like, He's our creator, and I think, like, it's only right for me to truly be at His presence and appreciate what He has blessed me with. And then whenever that time comes, or if that time comes at all, then that's a blessing, and I'm like, some part of me is also thinking, it's like, man, do I even deserve a healthy or a godly relationship, right? It's like, what does that even look like? And I'm like, why am I even pondering about that part? And I'm like, oh, that's, like, taking away me being not being present with God. It's just that, like some part of me, there are moments back then, and even from time to time, if I'm being honest, it's just that, like there's some things I'm like, I need to work on here and here before entering that. And I realize is that, like there are some things I need to work on, whether it's, like, being more emotional intelligent, or being more aware of what I say, or being more aware of my intentions, right? like for me, I told Nathan this all the time, is that like I like I don't know why I'm crying. Like and for here I thought you'd be crying, but like like I truly think I can't be in a healthy godly relationship if I can't be even having a healthy relationship with God, or even a sincere relationship with God or my friends. Because if I can't be honest with God, if I cannot be honest with my friends, I can't be honest with my relationship later on. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
See, this is why I bring Ray on, because I feel very comfortable with him speaking like this, you know? And then it's just like, I don't know, like, and then some parts of me, I'm like, man, like, I don't want to date a woman who's like my mom, or I don't want to be like my dad. It's not saying I hate my dad or hate my mom. It's just that, like, I think I also have expectations, like, I'm supposed to be better than them, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, growing up with immigrant parents, like there's a lot of pressure, and you get me, bro? And then, like,
I get you. Yeah.
And then just like, I'm at this point that I just love God so much, bro. Like, there's a reason why I had a kidney transplant. I have another kidney. There's a reason why, like, I'm not in depression. There's a reason why I don't drink anymore. There's a reason, like, I make those decisions because I want to not only better myself, but I want to better this body that God blessed me with, you know? There's a reason why I survived, like, so many car crashes, you feel me? And, like, if I can't, like, honor, like, God gave me this one body, then I can't be there with my significant others. And that's where I am at right now, you know? And now I'm, like, so focused on just being there with the kids that God trusted me with. You know, every time I go to work, I pray, because I'm like, God, like, when kids see me, I pray they see you, not me.
Yeah.
Because I'm imperfect, bro. Like, I'm very broken. Like I'm so broken, but I want people to know, like, God loves them so much.
Yeah.
And if you work and be there, walk with God, he will mold you to the point that you never thought you could do better. Yeah. You know, and that's why I'm, like, so blessed to even do this podcast, or just talking to you. Like there's a reason why God is doing this. You know, it's not for me. It's not about my passions or my pursuits, because at the end of the day, we're here to be there for people. And I think it's not about serving and doing on our own selfish acts or pursuits. And I get it, we all have passions, but my first passion has to be with God, because he has given me a mission, not only to spread his will, but it's to serve people, to be there for people. And being there for people doesn't always have to, like, oh, like, come here, but being there for people is like, I care about you, Ray, and let me learn and talk about you, and learn through you, and learn what you have gone through. And there's a reason why you shared that with me, right? I see, like, I didn't even know I was gonna go all that, bro. You know, that's the Holy Spirit, bro. Yeah. And it's just that, like, I don't know, like, if you ever felt like you pondered about God, or you felt like, oh, why am I going through this? Like, like, God has a hand on you, and I know for sure he would never let you go, bro, because you're his child, dude. And just thought I should let you know about that, because, like, sometimes we neglect ourselves because it feels so comfortable. Because of that darkness is so dark. But on the other side of it, like, just one more step each day, when you choose to live, when you choose to breathe in his glory, man, that joy, you can't explain that, right? Like, I forgave my mom and dad, but that wasn't from me, but that was from God. He gave me the authority to just be like, let yourself free. You know, and I don't know, I'm sharing this to you because, like, I don't know, it's just, there's a reason why God put you in my life and put me in your life, right? And if we don't recognize our hearts to do that, and open our eyes and ears, and just knowing that, like, man, like, Ray's here in my life, and I'm here with your life, you know? even though we don't talk that much, but every time we talk, like it's like
yeah, it's what's that idea,
Yeah.
right? Like we don't,
oh my gosh.
you don't need to small talk me to maintain the relationship, right? Because we are
Yeah.
at that, we're attuned to that level,
Yeah.
right? And so that's why I value it.
I don't know why I'm going through that. I don't know why I shared that. It's just that I just felt like I got shared because I feel comfortable.
For
And
sure.
if anyone's listening, I know what you're going through. I don't know. It's just that, like, you know, like, this podcast is always, we changed the topic about, like, enhancing, like, just, like, faith and empathy and peace, right? Like, and every time I talk to you about, like, just talking to you, you're one of those people, I don't want to say, like, you modeled that so well about, like,
Thanks.
I'm down to talk about God with you. Like, literally, like, you, me, Alex, and Lance, we were just eating, and then we were praying. I was like, oh, we're praying? Okay, we're
Yeah.
praying. Like, look, I was like, okay, I'm down praying. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, that hospitality, I'm going to bring that back, is that, like, you're down to just, like, be you and who you are.
We're
Like,
blessed. We're blessed, man. We're taken care of. So it's like, it's just being allowing that, you know, just allowing that to be, like sitting with that.
When do you think you started allowing that, though?
I think I'm still working on it. I'm always working on
Yeah.
it, right? Obviously, it's just probably in a little bit different of life stages and life
Yeah.
spaces. It might look a little bit different. Might have different pieces to it, but like I said, like I didn't share that with you, right? But I left education.
Did a tear came out? Did a tear came out? Like,
oh no, sorry, no.
Man.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it was. No.
Gosh darn it, mission not accomplished.
It's yeah, it looks like for me allowing is not propping up who I am on what I've done prior to this and like living through that versus standing up on like where I'm at in this moment and where I am in my journey and being able to, you know, acknowledge that I'm in transition and I'm in learning and allowing. I think I'm in it right now where I'm not all these things that people know me as over the years. I'm not in those things right now. I'm not doing those things right now. So then who am I right now? Or how am I serving right now? And I'm in a space of just learning and going into that. And so, yeah.
Well, before I ask you my last question, I just want to thank you, bro.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to share half of that, bro. Not going to lie. I was like,
I'm glad you're speaking on
Ray's
it.
going to cry next to you. I'm tearing up. I was like,
Yeah.
what is going on?
Well, you had a feeling I was going to cry?
No, I had
Yeah.
a feeling that this is going to be a fruitful conversation.
It's
not gonna
fruitful.
lie,
It
bro.
was
Very fruitful, man. And so basically, like, we have like a two thing going on.
Yeah.
It's like, my first question is like, there's a scripture that we're following through season 2. It's called "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Right. The question is that like that's part of the Beatitudes. Is that like, when was the last time you had to be a peacemaker?
When was the last time I had to be a peacemaker? When was the last time Man, I don't. I'm obviously thinking about conflict, and I'm like, what's the last conflict that I've had to work through? But I would think if it's just with Jen and myself, you know, and I think in that peacemaking is probably with my own ego, like my own either wanting to be right or not wanting to be wrong, and or putting aside, you know, let me think of a specific, what can I even just think about specifically? I mean, I would use the idea of wanting to stay in New Mexico and coming back here, and I felt like I was regenerating and taking in so much and being able to reflect and be in solitude and be in a peaceful place. And then to support with Jen wanting to come back and putting that aside. Not putting it aside, I don't want to say putting it aside, but integrating that into what Jen wants and moving myself into that space. Yeah, because I think ultimately now when I look at it, I'm glad Jen pushed us, because it also has gotten me to face certain things that I was like disconnecting from here. Right now that I'm back here, why did I want to do that? How do I reconnect with these relationships? How do I choose to show up again in the world here? And it's built a lot of like beautiful things, you know. Some beautiful things are brewing in my life right now because she led us to come back here. And I was like, cool, I'll do that. Let's do that.
Honestly, we could do part 2. I would love to have you back, bro. Not gonna lie. Next thing you know, I'll be crying more. Yeah. But like, usually we have a notebook where you write questions, but I forgot to bring that notebook. Yeah. But like, so if I remember, so we're trying to do this thing like, you write a question. You can type on my phone. I write it on a notepad when we record with Mike. Is that our previous guest Christy? She wrote, if I remember the question correctly. Yeah. She was saying she wrote on the notebook, if I remember clearly, was saying that like in regarding like divorce, right? The topic of divorce. Who starts the conversation, men or women? So
that was her question?
That was her question.
Who starts the
I don't know. I'm gonna take a picture. I just know that it has to do something with divorce.
That's okay. So so I'm supposed to answer the question?
Yeah, you're supposed to answer that question.
Who starts? I would assume it would be who's probably thinking that the marriage is not suitable anymore would probably start that conversation. I don't know if it's dependent on men.
All right, that's your answer, Chrissy.
Yeah.
No, so we're planning. The reason why I want to do that when we start season 2, honestly, is that like I think people have questions.
Yeah, and that's interesting. You know? I didn't even think about who starts divorce.
Me too.
Talk.
I was like, oh, that's a deep question. I was like, because like coming from me and my parents are divorced, but I didn't know who started it though. Yeah. Because like,
did you ever ask your mom?
I told this on the last episode. Like my sister knows most of the details, but some part of me was like, something should just left under the rug. Not because there's a fear of knowing. But I feel like if I dig that up, will it bring me peace, right? Will it bring me joy, you know? And it's not like a fearful avoidant of the truth. It's more like I'm good. I'm okay with everything, you know? Like,
Have you ever done like a little podcast with your mom?
With my mom?
Yeah.
Honestly, I had an idea of doing that for a season finale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like, no, I had an idea. I was talking to my team. I was like, what happens to my season 2 finale is to fly to Thailand, because my dad lives in Thailand now, and do a season finale on that. Just my dad
and fly out the whole team.
And fly out the whole team. Please donate. I need a buddy if you want that to happen. Yeah. No, but like, I had an idea just to.
That's cool. Yeah, I think it's worthy. I think. Last thing, is just
breaking family generational stuff,
just learn. They're people. You got to get to the point.
They're human too.
They're human. They're more human than you know.
But Ray, I thank you for not only your time but your friendship. You know, this is something I want you to hear from me that I don't take lightly on, because like me trusting men is a hard thing for me. Yeah. But I just genuinely like love you, bro. Like I truly want you to know that. Like, thank you for caring about me. Thank you for extending to be a friend for me. And then man, I thank you with that, bro. Yeah. Thank you for coming here.
Yeah. Thank you. I remember we were supposed to do it the first time, and you were asking me, and I trusted you enough to just be like, yo, I'm not in a good place right now to probably be on.
Good.
You know? Thank you for that.
Walk with your pace. I'm me at your left.
Appreciate you.
Well, folks, that's a very... I didn't know it was going to be that deep. But season 2, episode 13 with Ray Ricafort. Is that? Am I saying it right? Ray?
No, it's completely wrong.
Wait, was?
No, it's Ray.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Dude, you almost made me pee a little. I was like, I'm prepared for no reason.
Yeah.
But with that being said, y'all, subscribe. This is season 2. Not only we're trying to carry God's will, but listening is part of hospitality. I truly believe that. And God is one of the greatest listeners out there and the truest listeners. And I pray that not only you join me on this journey of just learning, but I hope you guys learn a thing or two. With that being said, I see y'all on the next episode. Peace.